Why would you want to be in a peak market here when this market now is effectively going down? It may still go down, but why wouldn't you want to be in a position where you could take that capital and now purchase?
All right, Frank, we are back.
Well, here we are.
We are, just like that. And we're going to dive into the market that we're in today.
Yeah.
Now, I want to cue it up.
Yeah.
Because you were on my show for the very first time, August 18th, 2021.
It's a while ago.
And it was a while ago. And you made a very strong, bold prediction of where we were going to be very soon.
Yes.
And then lo and behold, 6 months later, let's be frank
about real estate investing.
Real estate
you were my
investing.
first guest.
Yeah. You called it.
Yeah.
You called it.
Yeah.
How did you know, or what was it that you saw? But then I also want to then dive into whether investors or homeowners can expect in this market, and where do you see things going in the future?
Sure. Just having had that much experience at the time, 30 plus years and then some, you know what the indicators are, right? And so you need to just look for the flags that are happening. Same thing is happening in the stock market today, was happening in the real estate market before it declined, right? So it's just one of those things where and you will be able to do the same thing as your career progresses, because you will now identify factors that you will recognize as indicators, right? And so at the time, I was deemed the Debbie Downer of, on some podcasts, I know that you went through some hardship by having me as a guest, because I was the guy that was kind of screaming fire at the party. Right?
Which I did not mind at all.
Yeah, no, you were great to have that on there.
Yeah,
right?
But you're right, though. I did get some pushback on that, and people were like, who is this guy talking about? Like the market's going to crash. And they were just upset about the fact that it could.
Yeah.
And not even looking at, like you did yourself, the indicators.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody was rolling in the dough. But for those who listened to the podcast, clients of mine that listened, they shored up on the properties that they wanted to keep long-term. They got rid of the ones that they didn't want to get rid of. Then they got their cash together. And I think what's happened now is that a lot of those investors that were in the market before have now transitioned into the easy money of the stock market. Oh, yeah.
That's a good point.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I didn't even, And so that's still just like a rocket ship.
It is like a rocket ship. So they transitioned. Now they're in the stock market. So, but my fear is that we're going to see a major market adjustment.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And if I was an investment realtor, broker, like yourself, I would be reconnecting with all the clients that you were with, touching base, right? Because if you're actually looking to make a move and you are looking to buy a investment property, the truth is that the market is still going to be diminished by at least a year or two more. I hate to be bad news. However, though, there's opportunities to be had right now, unlike any other time before. You could get
even right now.
Yes.
You're saying, because
yes.
Even though the market can still slide,
yes,
I got your word there. It can still slide. You can still get really good deals, and I'll share a really good deal that I recently got from one of my clients. Was like up in the Kawarthas, and we got it for like 200, and I think it was 15,000, and it just got appraised for like over 5.
There you go.
So even in a market that's still going down because people want to get out, you can create a win-win by getting in and getting them out.
Okay. So you just reminded me of something that happened all the time when I was going through it, where in the right time, as long as you're out there actively looking, there are opportunities like that where you can have built-in equity, or you could get assumable without approval mortgages. You could even get it where the clients are willing to pay your legal fees just to assume the mortgage because they're going to take a loss. There's a lot of opportunities to be there. There's a few factors that are, as always, in every market, there's some strange, weird events that are going on. We also, during this past event, have had rental rates were going through the roof in a way that just was not fiscally responsible. Even when it was happening, I would tell my clients, we need to chip the rents down just to be on the safe side to make sure that if this investment is going to be sound, that if there is some form of issue, you're going to be able to survive at this number. This number is great. Mm-hmm. Congratulations, but we got to be realistic in case something occurs that may adjust, which has been happening.
For the 19 months in a row.
Yeah.
As of today.
Yeah. And then I think we're all starting to see that we live in a world in which sometimes we hear the news and maybe the news isn't as true as we were told that it might be, such as there is a giant housing supply issue. And the reality is there's more vacancies out there than Carter's got pills. There's a massive glut of condos that are coming on board, and are coming on board of buildings that are being completed. Right.
And rentals and purpose-built rentals.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, the good news is, too, that I think they put the brakes a bit on some of the immigration that's going on. So it was a bunch of factors that were happening.
Correct.
We had a government that was not responsible on immigration at all. I think we're now starting to see a turnaround. It's going to take some time, right? But the reality is that now if you look, so as an investor, you're now in an excellent position to be able to go to a buyer for investment. I'm going to talk about investment properties. And then you're going to be able to use the fact that there is a likelihood that those rental incomes that they're stating are current will actually possibly go down. So the measurement on how you go about determining that is going to be up to you, but it needs to be sound. The mathematical equation. It needs to be sound to the broker representing their seller, or to the seller themselves. So they're prepared, okay? And because an appraiser will. So if you know commercial appraisers, call them and ask them what factor they use to determine the rental rates that may still be compressed. I think they're getting to a point where we're going to find that they'll even bottom out at some point because it has to be realistic. Like, some of the places now that were, 3,500 are now, 2,000, let's say, as an example. That's a big drop. But how much lower can it go for downtown Toronto or wherever you're located, right? Yep. And so
and the other factor as well, too, is that the good product or the homes that people want also, too, there's not a lot of them either. They built too much of the wrong product. Like this, the bachelor condo or studio condo. Like a lot of people don't want those. You know who wants that? Is maybe my daughter who's going down, right, who's going to university, and she's single and she wants a place to stay for, 2 years while she's at school. After that, they don't want that. Yeah. You can't raise a family there, and you get a second person there, and it's just, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Right. Yeah.
We have a lot of things too, with Bill 23 coming through that allows multiple single family homes to be converted. I really think that anybody just keeps talking about some form of housing shortage it's not relevant as far as I'm concerned, right?
Yeah.
I really don't think it is. There's opportunity now all around. So what was gloom and doom in previous podcasts, the message is very positive. And that's for realtors and brokers as well that want to be able to turn the situation into opportunity, to project your messaging, which is factually true, that there's more opportunity now than there ever was. Right. What I always found remarkable was that, when a market was clearly overinflated, not just on prices, but in the asking price of rents, there was always no question and people were jumping in without hesitation. Now, when the market has gone down, but it's readjusting in a manner in which it's showing what goes up must come down. And now we're at a point right now where anyone who's serious about real estate would be foolish not to be looking, right? Mm-hmm. Like the one thing I've always admired about you was that you had every perspective possible to properly inform and advise your clients so that they had their eyes wide open. So you had me on several times on your podcast, and I wasn't going on intentionally to be gloom and doom. I was just talking, we were talking organically about what I saw at the time, right? Yep. But now the messaging is completely flipped 180 because I now see opportunity everywhere. I see the opportunity in investment-related properties. I see that if somebody wants to do a transitional move on their residence to a residential, to maybe a larger home, or maybe into an area that they couldn't afford before, or business opportunities to purchase a business, I just see it now as this is the time to really actually become excited. Even though there may be still further adjustments down, if you buy it right today, then you're buying it with provisions of it going down, if that makes any sense.
It does. And here's what I love about this podcast today is that now we've got Positive Frank.
Yeah.
And Positive Frank is now saying, look, he sees the opportunities. And the reason why you're able to give that advice is because you've been through a similar market.
Yes.
And even though it's still moving downwards, you can still find great opportunity, like I just mentioned, in this particular market.
Yeah, big
I think
time.
it's a great time. Listen, from 2020 to now, I haven't bought any investment properties.
Yeah.
You know, and I listen to you. I listen to people that I have seen in the game for a long time, not people who just got into the game because they haven't had the experience. They haven't seen enough. And if you haven't seen enough, or you don't have the right coaches and mentors by you that have seen enough, then they can't advise you properly.
Right.
And so because of that, I'm like, I'm going to be sitting tight here because you've been through this before. And now I see the opportunity. I'm actually looking now.
Yeah, good. You should be.
Yeah, I've got it on my whiteboard. I'm like, I want to pick up a few properties now because I see the opportunity.
Yeah. You're going to be able to use real life factors in the economy to be able to legitimately substantiate a lower value than what they might be expecting. Mm-hmm. And if they don't take it right away and it's something that you really want, give it a rest and go back. You're not in the worry of the fear of something selling tomorrow that you didn't get today.
Right.
Right.
Just put the offer in anyways.
Time is on your side.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those things that time is on your side. Power of sales. If people are looking at a power of sale, so if you're a broker or a realtor, you need to prepare that buyer mentally that you may have to go in on that property 8, 9, 10, 12 times because the courts, the power of sales, anything that's a distressed property that's governed by the laws of the land, there needs to be a paper record that the financial institution has gone back as many times as possible to try and recover as much for the mortgagee, right? So they need to protect that individual. However, there comes a time when there's so many offers that do not even come close to what they're asking. Show by a paper record, they're eventually, usually it's around the 10th, 11th time, 12th time. Sounds like a lot. It is. However, you will be able to possibly steal a property, right? Yeah. I just see lots of opportunity.
Yeah. Now, any particular market that you like or that you would advise somebody to maybe, like, would you say like a primary market, a secondary market, a tertiary market? What are your thoughts on that?
So I would think that the principles that have always remained the same stand, right? You got your A market, B market, C market, D. So, you know, there are areas that are still active because their pricing is still reasonable. It didn't get silly, right? I think Toronto is always going to be a safe bet. Yep. You can't lose. You know, imagine if you could get a great, phenomenal by any standard opportunity on a property in Toronto. This market will turn around. There will be light shining through at the end of the tunnel. It may take a while, but if your goal is long-term keep and hold, which is the only way it should be for real estate, like I would be worried if I was a stock investor right now. But real estate, mortar and brick, it's not going anywhere, right? That was why I was always a mortar and brick guy versus those who advocate the stock market. If something happens, it's gone.
Yeah. And that's why I love real estate. You can see it. You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can touch it. It gets burnt down. You got
You can
insurance.
improve
They'll
it.
rebuild it.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible asset.
Yeah, it is.
The problem is, over the last few years, was that people thought it was a get rich quick. And the quickest way for get rich quick is don't get rich quick.
Yeah.
just take your time.
It was a get rich quick. It really was. And you can't blame it. It's just there are people who got greedy and then wanted to continue the wave. And then the wave, it stopped on a rocky ground.
Yeah.
Right. And those that now stayed in too long are really feeling the pain. And I feel bad for that, but there was lots of warnings out there.
There was tons.
Right?
Listen, 1 year, what did it go up? 27, 28%?
Yeah, it was just insane. Yeah.
That alone is the biggest warning possible. Of like, there's something broken here.
Yes.
There's something broken.
Yes.
And I would do like these home equity reports for all my clients where they get a report in their inbox every month of the value of their home.
Yeah.
And I had to adjust the numbers by $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, which now it's back to normal again, based on historical, average of say 4 or 5% increase each year over a 50-year period.
Yeah.
Now it's back to normal again.
Yeah.
Right.
See, the thing is, your base or people that are listening to your podcast tend to be people that love real estate. And so for those of you that are still interested in the game, there is lots of opportunity. If you have a property that's becoming a problem, then think creatively on how you can sell it, right? You might have to hold paper on it, right? You do whatever you do to try and get as much as you can, but you also too have to be creative. Get rid of the properties that don't make sense. It's okay. That's all right. Lick your wounds. For those who want to wait, a first-time buyer, I would be more, if for a younger person that's looking to buy, I'd say you got another year and a half, save as much as you can.
Okay. So you're talking about your first-time home buyer, somebody getting into the market.
First-time buyer is what I would be saying. Wait about a year and a half, and your opportunity could be there. And that's what's needed anyway. It got to the point where there was no dream. Kids would just think they can't ever own. That's horrible. That's not a society. That is what I always knew and what you knew through your life. We always believed that eventually if you saved, you worked hard, you could own a home. That dream got washed away. There was a lost decade, really, is what it is, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And prices do have to come down in order for it to become affordable. And then when it does get back up, a really good market is a market that increases 5 to 7% annually. Yeah. And then it just grows from there, right?
I agree with that. And I think what you're touching on as well, too, is that it's not a housing crisis. It's an affordability crisis.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
And we're still at that point right now where it's still not affordable. If you look at a average household income of about 105, 110,000, these homes still need to come down in that 500,000 range, right? And that's where I think you're saying that it still needs to slide a little bit more for another year and a half. And I want to go back to that other point that you touched on, the stock market, which I think you're maybe alluding to, you correct me if I'm wrong, which will then add to even more of a downward pressure in the real estate price. Is that what you're thinking?
Big time.
Okay.
Big time.
Touch on that.
So my thought is this: if I was in your position, where you're advising clients, I'd be talking about their stock portfolio. Now, you're not a stock expert, but there is no argument that we're in peak times. So if they were able to transition that portfolio into more of a cash position, because then they could be in a cash position to take advantage of this market that is declining, and or opportunities may come back. Why would you want to be in a peak market here when this market now is effectively going down? It may still go down, but why wouldn't you want to be in a position where you could take that capital and now purchase? Like, everyone seems to like to do the opposite of what makes sense sometimes, right? So of course, everyone's still dreaming that they can still make the big money in the stock market. The reality is that, and I'm not a stock expert, but when they say that these evaluations are going 100 or 150 times, the value of the company. And then they're not looking at the cost of what used to be a cash-rich business like Google or any of these large corporations that had, billions and billions in cash reserves. Those cash reserves are all out now building these data centers. And then I think to myself, aren't these data centers a high-risk situation? Because if technology is changing as rapidly as we're actually seeing it change, what are the odds of those gigantic data centers being outdated in just a few years? What happens if these data centers are actually using far more energy than what we can literally give, and it's going to affect the cost of people, the regular person, for their hydro bills and so on and so forth? Elon Musk talks about putting it in space. That's because it's cold, right? To cool these centers is using more water than we could ever get our heads around. Yet there's some other technologies, I think it's Amazon, can't be sure, that are putting their data centers underwater so that they maintain a cool temperature at all time. That might be a great idea.
Interesting point.
Yeah, these monster facilities, I think they're going to turn out to be albatrosses.
And I
don't know. What do I know? But that's what I think.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying, because I used to work at a data center, and I would have access to the back room, and those rooms were hot. And we're talking like late 90s, early 2000. And just before I left, in 2014, they were talking about bringing in water cooling again.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying now is, maybe going potentially underwater, where now it can completely, because that thing spits off a ton of heat. And I don't think people that are not in that space understand that. And then number two, you touch on a good point. There's a book, I'm trying to remember the name of it now, The Price of Tomorrow, where it talks about exponential growth.
Okay.
And if you take a piece of paper and you fold it 52 times, how high would it go? I think it goes to the moon. The reason why is the fold 12, 13, 14, they're not that big. But when you get into fold 35, 36, you're starting to fold a building.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Blockbuster got wiped out by Netflix.
Yeah,
because they didn't see that technology of streaming coming.
Exactly.
And so what you're talking about now is, what does that next fold look like? We don't know. And so
it's exponential, though. It's happening faster than we can get our head around.
Exactly.
Right?
So you're right. That data center may just not be feasible, and we could build something smaller and much more powerful.
It could be obsolete in 5 to 10 years if you could put your head around that, right?
Yeah.
And so these companies that were cash rich, that have had stocks that went through the roof, are now investing in these data centers, and they don't have the cash anymore. As a matter of fact, they're utilizing all their cash and going into some cases debt to be able to build these facilities. I just think that there's enough signs, indicators again. Maybe my gift is maybe seeing indicators. It's not as if I'm, trained in this, but it's common sense that there's a possibility that market could go through a massive adjustment. And if it does, how does that relate to real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but as a broker or a realtor or an investor, can you take your cash that you've got it in stocks and transition that into something? Maybe you transfer it into your RSPs so that you can then hold a mortgage on a property for yourself. They're just be in a position to be able to capitalize again, because I think that's another market that's seen its peak. And there's so much uncertainty in the world right now that I think that might be safer to transition. Now, my son's in venture capital in Palo Alto. He's in the heart of it all, and he's heavily invested in stocks. And he thinks that he thinks what I'm saying is nuts.
Right.
But he lives in a bubble, right? So he lives in this really weird bubble in Silicon Valley where everything is happening, and they forecast and they see what's unfolding. There's a lot that's going on. I see it as an opportunity to be taken advantage of when it comes to real estate. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you do as a broker or an investor with people leaning more on AI versus the expert who is the realtor of the local area. Remember, if you ask ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence, they can give you a broad answer, but they're not specifically able to advise you in a local market or on the human condition. This is the thing. Everything's driven in the end by the human condition, right? So I think this is a fantastic time for you and your brokerage. It's just you're going to have to be on the phones. You can talk to your clients. Investors need to be talking to their local, the expert, like Gary and his team, or other people that they trust that are investment specialists. Don't talk to Bob, the guy that's been doing it for 5 years. Talk to someone that's been in the trenches for a long period of time, that knows what they're doing to support you. This is the best way. I see boom times coming for those who invest wisely, because if they buy it now, those properties could grow significantly, just like this gentleman that you just spoke about, or this lady that bought for 200 and change. It's now been valued at 500. That's built-in equity.
Right.
That is something that you could talk about.
So you're seeing almost like a mix of a bit more pain with the slide and also opportunity, and lots of opportunity if you're working with the right team, the right people, and know what you're looking at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Is there any particular strategy that you think makes this the best in this market? Multifamily, conversions, garden suites. I mean, there's so many different things right now.
So I'd be looking at, so here's the thing with Bill 23, you can take a single family home and there's an opportunity there to convert it, a single family to a 3-family. But I would be focusing on the 6-plex, 8-plex, 12-plex. I think for those who were always in the smaller stuff, now I can see that a transitional move could be made. The key to success in real estate is to treat your tenants like they're your customer. So many people did not treat their tenants well, right?
Agreed.
They felt that they were a pain in the butt versus taking the attitude that they're the customer. And that's very important. I advocated it for years, even on shows that we've done before.
I agree.
Treat your client like they're your tenant, like they're your customer. Talk to your neighbors, treat your neighbors well to your properties, because they won't call the city on you. If there's any issues, they'll call you directly. There's a lot of ways to win, right? Yep. But it really comes down to the foundation of being kind to people and being the individual that conducts their business with integrity and honesty.
I agree.
And again, what comes around goes around. If you treat people well, they'll treat you well, right?
Yeah. And I think what ended up happening was that and I think people do this, they label their tenants, and they're not. They're family.
Yeah, they have to be
family, right?
Yeah.
And I treat all of them like gold.
Good for you.
When they move in, I get them a gift. At Christmas, I get them a gift.
Yeah.
I treat them like you're saying, like a customer. Frank, we're out of time.
Oh, boy.
One last piece of advice, 30 seconds.
30 seconds. If you need windows and doors and you want the best deal possible, call Frank at Valera Windows and Doors.
Awesome.
How's that?
I'll
take care of you. I can assure you that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
How's
perfect.
that?
Yeah, that's good. But
yeah,
also,
good times are coming.
But also a good mindset advice as well, too.
Don't be listening to the news. Stay away from all the negativity that's going on, right? You need to get your head out of all that's going on right now. Go out, talk to your friends, become part of a community. It's too easy to isolate now. Push yourself to do that. Talk to people. I'll tell you one thing that I've been doing in my business now that is completely different. Rather than texting, I now leave an audio voice message. So I'll record it and then I'll send it, because then they hear my voice. It's too easy to be disassociated with an email or a text message. It's a habit that I've just started, but it's been working very well, right?
I love it.
Yeah. And keep in touch with people, talk to your friends. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Just be as positive as you can. Stay healthy.
Frank, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we'll do this again.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
you.